Start our public appearances, and to explain public appearances, Brooke Parmalee is going to announce the guidelines for that.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you that signed up before the end of the day last Friday to give comment, you have 5 minutes. For those of you that did not sign up, you can fill out a card. Amanda has those in the back. You'll get 3 minutes today. And when you have 1 minute left, I will hold up the 1 minute sign, and when your time is up, I will hold up the time please sign, and we ask that you please bring your comments to a close. And if you could please just keep an eye on the time when I'm holding it up, we appreciate it. And also state your name for the record. Thank you.
Okay, first up is Marcy.
I'm Marcy Loader, and one of the presenters earlier mentioned kids earning patches for the turkeys, I think it was. I remember when earning patches was doing good things, scouts doing good things, and not getting patches for killing things. So, a few weeks ago, an appeals court in Lansing heard a case on animal rights. A powerful presentation was made by plaintiff, but was ultimately ruled against, a judge citing he was bound by a 19th century law deeming animals mere property. That's reminiscent of a dark time in our history when animals were viewed as objects or vermin, leading to shocking acts of cruelty like stuffing unwanted kittens into burlap bags and tossing them in the river. Over years, a crude science revealed that many animals exhibit behaviors very similar to our own. Animal cognition or cognitive pathology bears this out, showing abilities once believed exclusive to humans like tool use, empathy, self-awareness, and complex communications. Despite recognition of sentience and intrinsic value, there remains a tenacious clinging to obsolete notions and intransigence to acknowledge these advances. This is a problem because the denial of fact and outdated mindset can settle in throughout all areas of our wildlife management structure, particularly where our so-called fur bearers are involved. This can allow turning our public forests, our wild ones home, into trap-infested minefields, endangering all animals far beyond targeted species. Those potential victims could be badgers, fishers, pine martens, bobcats, wolves, foxes, opossums, the list goes on. Regarding the wildlife conservation order, and Cody spoke on it, I saw interspecies conflict. Doesn't that mean wild ones just being wild? And overabundance of. That kind of sounds to me like free-form data fabrication. I pay attention when someone speaks on a subject I care a great deal about, especially when they may conceivably know more about it than I do. But I've learned over time you can't always trust what's said to be true just because they purport to be an expert or hold a title of some sort. It happens there is no shortage of people with no compunction about concocting a narrative to reach a predetermined outcome. For the record, making up stuff to support a desired result just because you can get away with it isn't scientific methodology. We're in our 21st century. The data, real data, not coyote contrivance, isn't ambiguous on animal autonomy. The days of devaluing and abusing them should be far behind us. We're not that ignorant anymore. Although that's a tough sell, given the mercurial and retrograde policy we sometimes see with our life or death of wildlife decisions. If officials make and modify policy to benefit one small demographic, they abrogate stewardship and risk evolving into near shills for an apparently privileged group, to the exclusion of the majority of Michigan citizens. That would be bias, and that would be a travesty. I hope it doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Kimmel.
Dan Kimmel, I'm representing the Bass Federation of Michigan, Michigan Bass, West Michigan Bass, Payback Bass, the NRC Sports Circuit, and I've been told the national office, the Bass Federation Incorporated, that I could say that they also we all strongly oppose the amendment to close bass fishing on the inland waterway of Black Lake, which as far as we know does not even have gobies, and I've fished there and I've never seen one, but I talked to an angler who's fished there 30 years, he said he's never cleaned a fish that had a goby in its stomach, so we don't believe they're in here. We would actually oppose any bass season closure right now or further restricting our fishing opportunity by pushing the bass season back later in the season from where it is right now. What I think is we should be discussing more opportunity, not less opportunity. We talked to some of the businesses in the Indian River area, and they were not aware of this, what we call a dangerous precedent-setting proposal, because it could be expanded to the entire Great Lakes. The immediate effect of this closure this year alone, and this is based on surveys that we've taken with various tournaments of various sizes. This year alone, if you did the amendment as it is, $200,000 to $300,000 in natural resource economy would just disappear from that area immediately, because there would be no reason for bass anglers to be there. It'd be illegal, and there'd be no tournaments. The tournaments would just go somewhere else. The problem is, what we're looking at is expanding this, because every lake association up there signed on to this paper saying we want this too. That's our fear, so that's why we're taking this very, very seriously. Even changing the bass catch and release season to late June would cause almost the same loss of natural resource economy, because again, there would be no tournaments. Most of the bass fishermen just would not go there. Primarily, we oppose this amendment because we truly believe in scientific management of Michigan's natural resources, and we care about the bass as much as any anglers do, because if there's no bass, we can't do what we enjoy doing. We wouldn't be able to do it. We spend a lot of money so we can enjoy this sport and have a lot of fun and do some interesting things, and all that would just vanish if we had no bass. So we care. We continue to benefit constantly from our bass populations are excellent right now. So I have personally fished up Burton Mullet. Mullet, I tell people that's my favorite lake in the world, since 1991. In the first year we fished there, it took less than a 3-pound average to win a tournament there. That was 1991. Now it takes 5 to almost 6-pound average to win a tournament there, almost every tournament. In the fall, the winning team had 29.5 pounds, 6 fish. You cannot have a bad fishing population and catch those kind of fish. The spring tournament, there was 3. One of the spring tournaments, the top 10 teams all had over 25 pounds. That's 55-pound bass in one day on someone else's schedule. You cannot do that if there's not really good bass population. And the funny part is I was up there mid-June just fun fishing, and I had no trouble catching small bass. I caught bass from basically 6 inches to 6 pounds, but the majority of what I caught was 3 pounds or less, and I was catching walleye at the same time. So that's one of my other main concerns is this would be another one of those unenforceable rules, because people are going to be up there, they're going to be catching walleye, they're going to be catching pike, and they're going to be catching bass, and who's to say that guy's bass fishing, but that guy's walleye fishing? We want to stay away from that. I mean, I spent 40 years of my life trying to get away from that by changing our bass season to where it is now, and I do not want to see that lost. And of course, all the scientific studies have said the same thing as the DNR reported today. Individual bass beds may be harmed, but the population, there's no effect that we can show on the population. So I know for a fact gobies have been in that body of water at least since 2004, because I do a lot of underwater video, and I have underwater video from Mullet Lake where there was gobies around bass. And the fun part is watching the bass eat the gobies when they try to come in the bed. This is terrifying to me. And what I would like to do is come back here in a week or two, or a month or two, and talk about opportunity, not losing this amazing fishing that we have. And I hope that you guys will agree with me and the DNR, because that's what the science shows. Thank you very much.
Question. Do you have my phone number?
I do.
If you were that opposed to this regulation change, why didn't you call me?
Actually, maybe you don't remember it. I talked to you earlier in the year. 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? I
Yes,
thought it was
sir.
earlier this year.
No.
Where I told you about Mark Ridgway and his studies.
2 years ago.
Was that 2 years ago?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm 63 now, and I'm gonna have to blame that on being 63. I'm sorry about that, but I asked you if you would take the amendment away, and you said no, so I don't wanna argue with you.
We can have good, healthy discussion, is my point.
Okay, I'm willing to do that.
When you're blasting the crap out of me in social media without a phone call, that's really disturbing. And frankly, you're hiding behind the send button, and I don't appreciate that. That's my point, and do you have my phone number? In the future, please call me anytime you wish.
Okay, understand, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dave Rail. Did I pronounce it?
No, good attempt. It's pronounced Row, R-O-W.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nobody
Okay,
gets it right.
sorry about that. I'm not French.
So, my name's Dave Rowe. I'm here representing Payback Bass, the Bass Federation, and myself. First off, I'd like to say this, I've seen this proposal around the last 2 years, and I'm also on the Warm Water Steering Committee, which is, you know, the process, the normal process to get things in front of the commission here. And we've reviewed it, and, you know, in that committee, we haven't seen a scientific justification for the change. And, you know, for me, I'm looking at 5 lakes here, and changing the regulation on those 5 is driven by a lake owners association. I go, what if everybody in the state started to try to do that? And there's not any really recognized problem. The other thing is to me, there's a little bit of irony in it. When I think about the number of people I've talked to that see the smallmouth sitting on the nest, and it's sitting there, and they use what we call a flogger. So it's a bathoscope that you can put in the water to take all the glare off. And when you take all the glare off, you got a clear picture of what's going on down there. And they'll see the gobies going in and out of the bed, and the bass is just sitting there. But to think that the bass is going to be there 24/7 for 7 to 10 days from the time those eggs are laid till the time they hatch and the fry swim off, and defend it vigorously the whole time, it's probably not going to happen. We all know, we go back to the bed, there's nothing there. Come back later, the fish is there. So I don't even know if there is a problem, whether the anglers are the solution. And earlier when Lucas was talking, he talked about a lot of different factors. One of the factors in this as well is the gobies also compete with the small bass and the fry for food, right? The big bass, the adults don't. So there's just an incredible amount of dynamics going on with all this. And to say that if, you know, that the goby introduction and any effect that they have, if we stop fishing for them during that time, it's going to reverse everything. I don't really think it's going to, the end result is all going to be the same. I've fished there for probably the last 25 years, a tournament at the beginning of June, and I've noticed a change in the habits of the fish and where they spawn. I used to know where all the rock reefs were, and they would spawn around the hard structure. Well, now if I go around the hard structure where they used to spawn, I don't find any fish. But on the sandbars and some of the flats that have weed strips in them, they're spawning on the edge of the weed strips. So I look at that is that a lot of the spawning activity has been redirected to areas that aren't as conducive to gobies, right? There's a lot of reasons why that could be happening, but I think that there's some changes in the population. And in everything that I've been involved with all my years in Michigan, you know, I've seen so many changes. You know, we've had the exotic introductions, zebra mussels. We've reduced the phosphates, the water's cleared. I've seen lakes that have been real weedy and they go to no weeds. All the herbicide use on the inland lakes, right? All these kind of things. And usually you just have to wait over time and things adjust. And here, rather, it's basically 4 lakes, because Burke doesn't really have the gobies. You're gonna change the regulations there. It may be the best course of action because nobody's really documented scientifically the problem. The best thing to do is just to let nature take its course, see what happens. Because what are we gonna do on all the other lakes? And how are we gonna deal with it if the gobies go further? So right now, I think a more prudent course would just be to keep it the same. We don't know for sure there's a problem, but see what the eventual evolution is. It's only affected 4 lakes really in the state. So with that said, that's, you know, basically I think the best thing to do. I think in science right now doesn't dictate the additional closures.
Thank you, Dave.
Welcome.
Amanda Atwood? Amanda was here earlier. All right, Dave Steenstra?
Thank you, I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have my mic turned off, my apologies. Thank you for telling me that. So I called Amanda. Did we miss Amanda? No? Okay.
It's okay, we heard you.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to appear before you for a third time on this important issue. You've all seen the video on what happens, at least in this video, when a guarding bass is removed from the nest. The nest is destroyed in less than 2 minutes. Even in a catch and immediate release scenario, it's too late. The entire nest is destroyed by round gobies. Jim and I are the voice of Bird Lake, but we are also the voice for Black Lake, Mullet Lake, Crooked Lake, Pickerel Lake, Torch Lake, Elk Lake, and Lake Skageman. This represents 6,823 property owners on several northern Michigan lakes, all with a common goal to protect our natural resource. The Michigan Waterfront Alliance also stands with us in our request to end early season catch and release and move the bass season opener back to where it was historically, the end of June. Let's give the bass a chance to reproduce and sustain the resource. Even as recently as a week ago, the Inland Lake Citizen Advisory Group, representing dozens of other northern Michigan lakes, stood behind our request. The group meets twice a year to discuss important issues concerning our natural resources. This vote of support was taken after Dr. Nathan's presentation to our group, the same presentation. The wording of the regulations even supports our concern. And here's just a couple quotes. Targeting fish before the season opens can lead to penalties like fines up to $500 and imprisonment. This is a misdemeanor. Fishing seasons in Michigan are closed for specific periods to protect fish during critical life stages, most often during spawning. This ensures the sustainability of fish populations for future generations of anglers. The regulations go on to say many fish species congregate in specific, often predictable locations to reproduce. Fishing during this vulnerable period could disrupt spawning behavior, damage eggs and nests, and place undue pressure on the breeding adult population. By closing the season, the MDNR helps guarantee that fish have the best chance to reproduce successfully. That's in the regs. And when you throw the invasive round goby into this picture, it paints an even bleaker picture. Commissioners, Jim and I, along with thousands of our friends and neighbors in northern Michigan, are asking you to stand up for the resource instead of angling opportunities. And in so doing, there will be angling opportunities for future generations. Please vote to close early season bass catch and release and move the bass season back to where it was historically, the end of June.
Boy, how do I follow that up? Pardon me. I just want to reinforce that this is a fish issue. It's a resource issue. It's not a people issue.
Put your mic closer.
It's not a people issue. It's not an opportunity issue. It's all about the resource. That's always been our focus, and it still is. We've talked a lot today about data, the need for data to do studies. We all want data to make sound decisions. Problem is, we don't have data. Neither side of this discussion has data. This is an opportunity to get data. Think about this. If we make a regulation change and we're wrong, there's really no harm done. Conversely, if we don't make a regulation change and we're right, we put the resource at risk. To me, it's a relatively simple decision to make. It's a rare opportunity that you get to make decisions like this that, in my perspective, are cut and dry. This is an opportunity to conduct research in a controlled environment in the inland waterway. One of the decision filters that we use at Burt Lake Preservation Association, understanding that we're a lake association, not a homeowners association. One of our decision filters in determining whether or not it's a BLPA issue is, what would the lake say? If the lake could talk, what would it say? And I apply that same thinking to this situation. If the bass could talk, what would they say? I think they would say, yes, please, we could use a little bit of help here. And I guess in closing, I would just ask, what would Charlie Kirk say? Prove me wrong. That's all we ask. It's okay if we're wrong, but let's prove it. Thank you, Commissioners.
Question. You both attended the Inland Lakes Citizens Fishery Advisory Council meeting 2 weeks ago.
I did. Dave was in Germany.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
This topic obviously came up.
It did.
Can you tell me what lake associations were present?
Obviously, Burt Lake, Pickerel Lake, Crooked Lake, Mullet Lake, Black Lake, Long Lake. Was Hubbard? I don't know. Maybe a couple of others. But that's who was there.
And there was a vote that was taken about whether or not to support this regulation change.
It was kind of interesting. At the end of the meeting, we always have a roundtable where we just go around and each lake association reports out on what's going on. The facilitator of the meeting asked each lake association, how do you feel about what was just presented here today? How do you feel about BLPA's position on proposing bass regulation changes? One by one, each lake association reported out. It was unanimous in support of our position. Every lake association that was represented at that meeting supported our initiative.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Trying to think the best way to formulate the question. Obviously, we're hearing conflicting information. Right. And with that conflicting information, walk me through, because we're seeing from the tournaments that, you know, the weight's the same. We're seeing from a grade limited data sample that different age classes were collected. But trying to help walk me through what you're seeing that other people aren't seeing?
I think a lot of people are seeing it. Actually, it was brought to our attention by a couple of different friends of mine that are tournament anglers on Bird Lake. And by the way, this is nothing to do with tournaments. To be perfectly clear about that. That they're just not seeing young bass. Seeing fewer and fewer young bass. So that's what really started this whole conversation, if you will. You just started getting involved in it, talking to more and more bass anglers. And by the way, I'm a bass angler. I belong to bass. I can speak my parents. I'm a bass member. So again, it's not anything against the tournament fishing. It's all about the resource. But getting back to your question, it's maybe anecdotal evidence, but people just are not seeing young of year bass, which is why we asked Lucas to do a study at Bird Lake, and he did. We saw the results of that today. We know that that was an abbreviated study, but I thank Dr. Nathan for putting that together. It was a pretty quick thing to do, and at least gather some information. But that's what we want to do. Here's an opportunity to gather information, to conduct studies, to get data, so we can make sound decisions. But from what we're seeing and what we're hearing, there's a concern about recruitment of young bass as a result of removing the guarding male from the nest and goalie predation. And really, it's all about the goalies. It's all about the goalies. That's what really started this.
Thank you.
All right, I hope I answered that.
Any other questions, commissioners? All right, thank you.
Thank you for hearing us.
Yep. Nathaniel Turbush.
I'm Nathaniel Turbush. I'm here to speak today about the closure of bass season. I recently graduated high school in May, so I'm here to kind of speak as the younger generation in this sport. After I graduated high school, I opened up an outfitter, and I'll be fully licensed and ready to start guiding this spring. I might as well just throw that out the window if we close the seasons on these lakes, as I've grown up on these lakes fishing since I could barely walk. And through high school, I fish tournaments every year here, but I'm not just a tournament angler up there. With guiding and all that, people are looking for the best experience they can and the most memories. And it happens to be that we target bass on these lakes during the spawn. But I wanted to touch on a point that why is it just these lakes? If we're going to talk about gobies and affecting the bass spawn, because you could talk about the Great Lakes or any other lake there's gobies. And personally, I've caught a bass off a bed in a tournament on mullet, taken it into weigh-in, come back a week later, and that same fish by markings is back on that bed over 20-some miles away that we took it, and then it finds its way back to that bed the same year. And as an angler, I have never seen an effect of this. We see, people are saying they're seeing less beds in the shallower waters, but I can't count a time that, or recall a time that I have been on the Burton mullet chain or any of the chains in northern Michigan or Black Lake and seen a shortage of beds in the past few years. Also, as stated earlier, that there's no evidence or scientific evidence stating this, and since this was released, there's been a huge call out as to anglers and people in the state of Michigan that are not standing with this, and I just ask that we don't go forward with this and that we can see some evidence, because I believe that most of us anglers don't have an issue with paying a little bit more for a license or paying a little bit more for tournaments if we are going to do research, because if this is truly, we're truly affecting the population, then we would be in support of it. But as of right now, none of us feel that we are affecting the population, and I also feel that the younger generation, or people in the fishing industry, are starting to really grow, and if we take away from these towns, like Indian River sees a lot of tournaments in the month of May and June, and it's not a huge town, and there's a lot of revenue that comes, and that would just end, because like a couple of the other people said, tournaments just simply will stop going places and they'll go out somewhere else. And there's a lot more effect of this on the economic side than people actually truly are seeing or recognizing. And I just ask that we listen to the anglers, the people of this state, and take a deeper look before we actually make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Myers.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the amendment to Fisheries Order 206. My name is Greg Myers, and I'm a landowner in Sheboygan County, as well as an avid outdoorsman, bird hunter, and fisherman. I frequently utilize the inland waterway, although I am not a tournament fisherman.
Is your microphone on red or green?
It's green.
Move it closer, please.
But if it has fins, feathers, chances are I pursue it. From a technical standpoint, I hold a bachelor's in biology and environmental sciences from Grand Valley State University, a master's in environmental science from Arizona State, and I hold a qualified environmental professional credential from the Board of DHS Credentialing here in Lansing, Michigan. I have 32 years of experience in the environmental and natural resources field, including work in aquatic and fishery sciences. First, I'm incorporating by reference Dr. Nathan's statements and others' testimony noting there is no scientific evidence that round gobies cause any population decline in smallmouth bass that is worsened by fishing pressure. In fact, the current state record smallmouth bass was caught in these same waters a few years ago, surpassing the previous record, which came from another lake likely infested with gobies. Young of the year and early stage smallmouth numbers are not declining due to goby nest predation. Yes, an individual goby may eat eggs from a single nest, but the overall increase in prey from gobies has actually expanded the system's food source for smallmouth bass. Smallmouth now benefit from a high-protein food source, which has contributed to larger fish and stronger populations across all year classes, as shown by creel, netting, and electrofishing survey. However, there are two issues that I would like to talk about where the science is overwhelmingly clear about negative impacts to fish populations: wake boats and vertical seawalls. Wake boats are widely recognized by scientists, regulators, and the boating community as damaging to nearshore habitats. Wake boat users on social media discuss poor wake quality in water shallower than 15 feet because those wakes interact directly with the bottom. The University of Hawaii wave model demonstrates that wave energy travels laterally across a lake where it will impact the bottom at 3 times the wave crest height. Since wake boats are marketed for throwing waves up to 5 feet, that energy can disturb habitats 12 to 15 feet deep, which destroys nests, buries eggs in sediment, and damages critical nursery areas. Adding to that, we're now seeing the proliferation of 28-foot and larger pontoons with up to 1,000 total horsepower, not as destructive as a wake boat, but still causing significant shallow water habitat degradation due to their hydrodynamic inefficiency. The second major impact comes from vertical seawalls: concrete, steel, sheet pile, etc. These are common along the inland waterway. Often they're installed to counteract erosion caused by the same high-energy boating activities I just mentioned. According to the DNR, Eagle, Corps of Engineers, and Coast Guard, these hard structures destroy critical nearshore habitat essential for both game and non-game fish, as well as threatened and endangered species. From Eagle's Shoreline Protection Program, and I quote directly, these walls cause increased turbidity, bottom land scouring, damage to adjacent properties, decreased water quality, proliferation of aquatic invasive plants and animals, and their documented biological impacts include fragmentation of the land-water interface, which interrupts reptile and amphibian life cycles. Again, right here, quoting directly from Eagle, negative impacts on aquatic species spawning, nursery, refuge, and feeding. Also, reduction in overall habitat complexity. Eagle explicitly recommends replacing vertical hardscape seawalls with bioengineered shorelines, and I am incorporating that website information by reference here. In summary, the round goby, even alongside year-round fishing, is not harming smallmouth bass populations, period, full stop. There is data and it shows that both larger fish and higher numbers due to goby providing an abundant food source. If the state, the commission, the DNR, and Eagle's concern is truly the protection of nearshore spawning fish and the broader aquatic ecosystem, then the body of science clearly directs attention elsewhere. Specifically, the consideration of a year-round ban on wake boats on these waters, or at a minimum, restricting their use during these months of concern. Also consider use limits on high horsepower pontoons and cruisers. Prohibit permits for new or rebuilt shoreline structures that fail to use Eagle's bioengineered shoreline principles. Finally, develop a mid-range plan for requiring replacement or modification of these existing hard vertical seawalls with bioengineered shorelines. If these lake associations are truly concerned about what is going on, these items will make a difference, not a season closure. These are the actions that will lead to a healthier, more resilient aquatic ecosystem, supporting not only game fish, but the full web of life that depends on these waters. Sorry that I was really fast and short. I had a lot of information I tried to get in there. Thank you for your time and your continued commitment to science-based management.
All right, Bob Jones.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Director. I'm here today to talk with you and offer some suggestions that I believe could help our deer management priorities. As a member of last year's DMI and this year's DAT, we were tasked to use some outside-the-box thinking to help our current situation. Our suggestions were to be based in science and have defendable data. Personally, I've spent numerous hours talking with group members, out-of-state biologists, who've looked at harvest data and regulations from numerous states, and have literally talked with hundreds and hundreds around our state. I will also repeat my statement that I made in a previous NRC meeting. We will not solve our high-density areas without first solving the access issue. I still believe this is true. There's some great work being done through the Michigan Hump Collaborative. It's a good start, but more needs to be done on that front. As we already know, there's no magic bullets that will solve all of our issues. It's going to take a combination of things to get us to where we need to be. One thing I do know for sure we need to change is the idea of consistent regulations across our entire state. If you compare Zone 1 and the northern portion of Zone 2, they are completely different than Zone 3. Densities on the opposite side of the spectrum, climate differences, amount of forested land versus agricultural land, private land versus public land, hunter number densities, predator load. While there are certainly some things that can be shared, we need to address these differences through different approaches to management. My first suggestion would be that we move the zone line separating 2 and 3 and encompass the current areas of high density now in the southern portion of Zone 2 and add them to Zone 3. Create a high deer density management unit. Then we could allow only, right now we got our 10 universal antlerless deer tags that are available throughout the entire portion of the Lower Peninsula. Those should only be allowed to be used in this high deer density management unit area. For me to go up to Roscommon, living and hunting in Zone 3, down in the south, and shoot up north, we should concentrate those efforts on the areas that need it the absolute most. Secondly, last year's DMI strongly favored Michigan to return to a single buck. While I personally didn't support it as a single change, I believe it does have a great amount of merit. Unfortunately, as you know, it will take legislative action for that change. However, there is something we can do right now that will increase antlerless harvest and put more bucks on the landscape leading up to the breeding season. Last year, there were approximately 20,000 that harvested 2 bucks over a 3-month-long hunting season. If those bucks matter, then certainly the 24,800 shot during the single month of October just with crossbows also have to matter. As of yesterday, I looked at the harvest report, and we've harvested approximately 28,000 bucks with crossbows so far this year, and our antlerless take is down in the toilet. This harvest shift can be seen across the country, not just here in Michigan. The crossbows today are not the same tools when many states adopted them in the archery season. My suggestion is that it's time to separate the crossbow out of full inclusion and place time restrictions on them. My suggestion would be to eliminate them during the month of October in Zone 1 and our reduced size Zone 2 and allow them for any deer starting the 1st of November through the 14th. This will ensure more bucks get into the breeding this fall, which will be especially good in areas with very poor sex ratios such as the Upper Peninsula. Then I would suggest opening crossbow in our high deer density Zone 3 October 1st through October 31st and make it antlerless only during that time. And then any sex starting November 1st through the 14th. This conversation is starting to take place amongst stakeholders in other states. I'm certainly not asking to take away the use of the crossbow, but their harvest impact has to be considered when we start addressing buck regulations. This plan addresses our need for more antlerless harvest in the southern portion of the state, while at the same time we'll get more bucks into the breeding, and this will also advance more bucks into the next year for those wishing to advance the age class and balance the sex ratios. I know that this is a contentious topic. I would say to those not willing to have an open, honest discussion on this are not looking out for the betterment of the resource, only their own personal interest. Everything in here is biologically sound and defendable with data from multiple states, and I'd be glad to share that information with you guys.
Thank you,
Any
Madam.
questions?
Any questions? Thank you. John Durkin.
Good afternoon, Director, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners. My name is Jonathan Durkin. I'm the president of the Michigan Spearfishing Association. I'm here one final time to urge you to support the Amendment to Fisheries Order 219, as many have in the last few months. This amendment pushes Michigan to the top of the list of Midwest states creating opportunities for the underwater spearfishing community, making Michigan a standout leader and a welcoming place for those who engage in underwater spearfishing, where 21% of the world's freshwater exists. As this amendment has been shared around to community members, the news has created hope for those who may enjoy the sport. This amendment has the capacity to create opportunities for residents and non-residents alike, all simply because of the sheer size of the Great Lakes. Touching 7 other states and sharing boundaries with Canada, it has great potential to impact so many in a positive manner. Michigan's vast water-based communities will have greater access if this amendment passes. While the numbers of those who participate may be fewer than other methods, the passion, I believe, is unmatched. Last month, Cal Stroud, who's a Wisconsin resident, made the trip over to Hope to provide testimony regarding this amendment. Cal has made multiple trips to Michigan purely because of the current regulations, where his own state provides opportunities for panfish and rough fish, and they pale in comparison to what this commission is considering today. You may have seen some of his videos I have sent titled Great Lakes Spearfishing and the latest draft of The Bleeding Edge, documenting these adventures here in Michigan. Just yesterday, the Thunder Bay International Film Festival, hosted by the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, has invited Cal to share his film at their event in January, further expanding public awareness for this method and those who enjoy it. I believe expanding underwater spearfishing boundaries will allow more people like Cal, myself, and Michigan's own Stephen Rennell to document and share what opportunities Michigan has to offer. I believe that while public support for this method may not be well understood, creating broader boundaries opens the door for creating more educational content, which will grow public support. While Michigan may stand out here in the Midwest, we don't stand alone when it comes to underwater spearfishing for game fish. Underwater spearfishing occurs in every state and in most countries around the world. As I have mentioned before, several non-coastal states provide opportunities for game fish to be harvested while underwater spearfishing without the vastness of the Great Lakes. These states include North and South Dakota, Wyoming, Utah, Nebraska, Arkansas, and with states like Idaho, Oregon, and Montana having created new opportunities for game fish like walleye, pike, lake trout, and smallmouth bass, but those regions are considered to be invasive. So, in closing, I believe this proposed amendment will make plentiful, quality, table-worthy game fish harvestable for those who enjoy the support of free-dive spearfishing here in the Great Lakes. And I hope you will give serious consideration to the amendment. And I just want to say thank you all for talking and listening and hearing us all out throughout this entire process. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you. Roger Thorman.
I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Roger Thorman. I'm not representing anybody today but my own frustration. You talk about hunter retention all the time. My father fought in the war, flew over 30 missions in the back of a B-17 bomber. And boy, did he come home with a horror story. And it was nothing about the war. It was about hunting in Europe. Only the rich can hunt. And if you think we're that far from that now here, you're not in touch with reality. On one side of the fence, you can have food plots, whatever ends up in them food plots. That's okay. If you're on the other side of the fence, you're going to sit on a tree and look at barren land with no reason the deer should come by there. If you're on this side of the fence, you pay $5 for a doe license while you're sitting in your heated blind over your food plot. While you're on this side of the fence, sitting on that tree over barren ground, you got to pay $20 for that doe license. Does that make any sense at all? There's people that spend their life savings by 10 or 20 acres of woods to deer hunt on. Now, with no baiting, they threw their money away. They're sitting in the woods or brush or whatever. It's just the divide between money and not money, the have and the have not, is just growing fast in this state. There's like stuff like barrows for bears. This side of the fence, you can have it. That side, no. Even this, what I hear today, I try to read these reports, try to understand them. And for what I've seen, the fishing thing, there's no evidence that they're harming them. They show that that all age groups of the fish are represented good. The fish numbers are there. So why are we talking about stopping it? What is the reason behind this, other than some people that live around that lake don't want you fishing there or doing this? There's no evidence to show that it's hurting. Why are we even considering that? I tell you, we worked a lot, long hours, a lot of talking to make the NRC. It was a bright spark in their life when it passed, and it worked great for years. Now it seems like politics are getting in there. I was really glad when the last two appointments came. I had hope that maybe we're getting a little bit back to the hunting side, but I don't know. I'm just so frustrated with both of them. I mean, where I live, they start shooting deer in June, early June, and they shoot them all the way till February. And how do you recruit hunters? It's usually small game. Well, that's wiped completely out, because even though a farmer would let you hunt small game, there's always a farmer that's got a nephew or he hunts deer, and as long as there's deer hunting, you can't go on their land. That's the same way with coyote running or anything. And if you run the whole hunting season in deer, you just eliminated, you can't take your kid robin hunting. Something's got to change here. I know what would change a little bit in the deer hunting would be baiting. It tipped that scale a little bit back to benefit everybody instead of just the people that some people want to represent. But politics should not enter in any decision on this board or really any decision on a DNR. Changing something to make somebody happy. I mean, it should be what is right, not what might make a politician happy or a landowner happy or whatever. It's what's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Mike Thorman.
I'm not sure.
You have a hard enough time keeping track of yourself.
That's a fact, Jack. Okay. It's always a pleasure to speak here. Let me cheat on time, Brooke. I'm going to start out with some history so you can understand what I'm really here for. It used to be bear season in the Lower Peninsula started on a Saturday. Bait hunters, hound hunters, we all start on Saturday and we run to the next week there. Well, then the youth hunt and the Liberty hunt came in, and we have always worried about conflicts, and we asked to be taken out, that we took ourselves out of the weekend hunt, and the department complied, so we gave up ever having that opening weekend. It's like deer hunting. There's nothing like opening day, you know. And we took ourselves out to try to stay away from the conflicts. Well, and then the bait hunters wanted time for the woods to be quiet before they started. We didn't argue. We gave it to them, but, you know, let's get along. And then they wanted extra days head start, and we gave up. Now let's talk about the UP. In the UP, there was 4 groups involved. I don't know, were you director then? I don't think so. Yep. I worked with Russ Mason, and one of the groups wanted to bait with bears. That way they can absolutely avoid wolves at the bait site. Another group wanted a concurrent opener. That they thought when you had that opener in the lower for a few days and then you started in the upper, it would spread that pressure out to have a concurrent opener. The bait hunters up there wanted a guaranteed weekend in their 5-day head start. And the hound guys wanted out of that youth hunt and liberty hunt up there. So we once again gave up ever having an opening weekend. Everybody got what they wanted. That's the way it was. Russ Mason and I put that together and worked on it. So now, I just want to establish, we've always been about the resource, always above killing a resource, always. And we've always tried to avoid conflict as much as possible. But there's 2 things floating around the department right now. One, they created the early doe season during the only weekend we have to hunt bears. Now it takes 11 years to get a tag in Red Oak. And we only have 9 days. And if you take away our only weekend, and that's what happens. I'll explain how that happens. I've invited all of you to come. Brooke has come. She can tell you. We've taken Shannon, we've taken Brooke, we took Commissioners Cozad and Baird, we've taken lots of legislators. You really need to see what it is. In Michigan, public land is checkerboard with private land. And those dogs are going to cross private land. You just can't do anything about it. But bear hunters like the Huffs hunt in this area, and the DeLongs hunt in this area, and Rex Lansing is going to talk here, hunts in this area. You get your area and you get to know the private people. When we took the former directors, Cozad Baird, they were really impressed. They go, well, you're running through all this private. Well, we know them, we've asked them. And the deal always is, we don't care if your dogs run across our property, as long as it's not deer season. So when that doe season's there, we can't even hunt, because we don't want to take a chance on losing the right to cross that property. That can't be. And there's 2 things coming up. We want that doe hunt gone. There's months to kill those, months. And the other thing is, they're talking about opening elk season. It's just in the beginning stages, and having the opening weekend with the liberty hunt, the youth hunt, the partridge hunt, the baiting bear hunt, and run the whole week of bear season in Red Oak. That would be the most disastrous conflict I've ever seen.
You got a guy that waited 11 years to get a bear tag, and you got a guy that gets once in a lifetime elk tag. So those two things, if they come before you, we're gonna urge you to use some common sense. And I'm gonna say just one thing here. I wanna say a lot of things, but I'm gonna talk fast enough. I'm gonna say this. Deer, what you don't know, and I do, because I was a farmer in the Thumb area. Them farmers that feed the hungry thing's fantastic. That's the greatest thing. You know, I applauded when that guy was up here. But what's really happening is them farmers, they're out in their beans, they're out in their wheat, they gut shoot them, so they'll run off to the woods and die. They're not going to take their truck or their tractor, their side-by-side out through their beans, out through their wheat to gather that deer. Now I like to deal in reality. That's the reality of what's happening. Way, way more than you can imagine. Shannon and I worked together, and we got a great idea. And, the last commission didn't like it, but maybe you will. At the end of muzzleloader, give them a week, the farmers. And we'll talk about the Thumb, because now you've got deer season all the way through the Thumb. We can't run our dogs, hardly any kind of dog. Give them a week, publicize it, get the trailers in there. All the deer are out of the corn, out of the beans, are all in the woodlots. That's where they're the most vulnerable. And you can have 16 guys and let them use those free permits that now they can just use in the summer, where they're just shooting them, letting them run off. And publicize this, hunters, farmers, helping them feed the hungry. And I'm telling you, those farmers, those old boys know how to push deer. And they can really put the hurt on the deer herd if you allow that time of year. And it's cold, it's perfect time, and we could really, because they're the only people. You're not going to get regular hunters to shoot you out of this deer process. You're going to have to think out of the box. Next time, I'll only talk for 3 minutes. Anybody have any questions?
I'll take bedtime, man.
I got $20 because he's full of crap.
Oh, you wouldn't know. You're the expert shooter, didn't want the backup shot that wounded a deer. You had to get a tracking dog to find it for you.
Thank you, Mike. Keith Schaefer.
Commissioners, Director, Brooke, nice to be back. Nice to see you guys again. Real quick, I'm just going to follow up with Mike said. I was talking about with the deer season on the opener. I mean, you guys just voted through a resolution, didn't really talk about it, and stop running hounds in deer season, right? Conflict. It's conflict. So our commission put early antlerless in a hound season, and we didn't think about conflict. We do get a lot of complaints, and I read a lot of complaints about the deer hunting in the bear season, and it's tough, you know. Guys are running hounds in their season. Other people don't really realize that they're going out. They're getting early antlerless season. Excuse me. And then dogs bring a bear right down to where they're hunting, right? It's tough. And to think that we would even, in any realm, consider putting elk season in that part of the season as well is a little bit absurd. I mean, somebody waits, it's a lifetime, once in a lifetime thing. You're sitting there, nice bull comes in, starts to come in, and here come the hounds, right? Early elk season's horrible. It's gotten horrible over the last few years. The lack of elk in the area is disturbing, and I mean, there's a lot of people. I didn't see yet what the early elk season percentage was. I don't know if any of you guys have got that. But I've been hearing it's probably around 30%. And so it's really low. The elk aren't up in the fields anymore. If we could moreover even think about getting rid of the early elk season, putting it all back into one season, and looking at December, the December hunt where the hunt is a better quality hunt. The elk are out moving around. We're in our core zone, and look more towards that area instead of causing more conflict and throwing a bunch of hunter groups together that have to put up the hounds, right? With that, also, if you guys didn't see or hear, the backup shooter permit went through the Natural Resources Committee, so that's moving on into the House. So that's a good thing. If anyone has any questions on that, feel free to give me a shout at any time. And with that, thanks guys, appreciate your time.
Thank you, Keith. Merle Jones.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Director, Council. I'd like to start by thanking you all for your patience with me over the last couple of years. And then I'd like to share a statement that is printed and repeated everywhere in the MTPCA world. And that is the cruelest thing you could ever do to wildlife is fail to manage it. And I want to add to that. I want to say fail to manage it well. And the reason I say that is because, and I'm going to use an analogy here, quite a used, often overused analogy, is a toolbox, right? But it really is fitting here because not only harvesting a tool, which we're managing well, but you have to manage the tools that you manage with. And I learned that from my big brother because on his end of the barn is a very well-organized toolbox, and on my end of the barn, not so much. Well, I think the order put forth, Amendment 10, I think is a fantastic example of organizing that toolbox well and taking good care of those tools. It's one thing to just say we're going to have the ability to harvest, but it's another thing to have those tools accessible, understandable, and useful for everyone. So thank you all for that. That it's a big step forward. MTPCA, I know we're pretty excited to keep working on that toolbox. As an organization that has not, we're a multi-discipline organization. We have trappers, we have hunters, we have quite a few animal management professionals in our organization. All of them are excited about working on that toolbox to make sure we clean it up for all of the species. So that's about all I got. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for your patience with me.
Thanks, Merle. Any comments, questions? Okay. Jill Fritz.
There we go. Thank you. I'm Jill Fritz. I'm a Senior Managing Director for Wildlife Protection at the Humane Society of the United States. I'm speaking for our Michigan State Director, Mitchell Nelson, who wasn't able to be here today. We're submitting written comments about Wildlife Conservation Order 10 of 2025, but today I'd like to address the process leading up to it and its consequences. Last year, concerns were expressed by Mr. Thorman and others that the Michigan public's increasing outrage over certain wildlife killing practices would lead to attempts to ban those practices. In response to those concerns, this body voted to reverse its ill-advised 2016 decision to open up coyote hunting to year-round. And the Michigan public felt that maybe you were beginning to recognize that their values actually matter. But a year and a half later, most of the commissioners who voted for that season closure are gone, along with any semblance of concern about facts or science or court decisions, and certainly not the values of the Michigan public. But here's the thing, those concerns about growing public outrage were entirely justified. And by reversing this rule to close the coyote season, which was backed by science and showed just the most basic, common decency toward coyotes that you show to almost every other hunted species in the state, you've turned an even brighter spotlight on these practices that are so despised by the public. For example, wildlife killing contests in Michigan. These are organized events in which participants compete for cash and prizes for killing the most, the largest, or even the smallest coyotes, foxes, bobcats, and other species within a specified time period. Contest footage has showed participants throwing the animals' bodies into dumpsters and abandoning them in piles after they are no longer eligible for a cash prize. We've provided you with a list of Michigan killing contests, which include predator roundups, youth-oriented contests. There's literally a predator games, a shoot for the cash predator bash, Great Lakes Region Predator Challenge, Dog Down Coyote Tournament, Extreme Predator Hunt, and a Michigan Predator Quest, among many, many others. There's also the Coyote Bounty Hunt in Jackson County. And as you can see in their 2025 poster, which you can see here, it starts in January and ends on March 1st. Incidentally, your proposed coyote management season, in which those who kill a coyote can't keep the body and have to bury or otherwise dispose of them, begins the next day, March 2nd. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Incidentally, your own policy, number 4104, states, in part, the NRC is opposed to the payment of bounties on predatory animals because there's no cause and effect relationship for predators versus prey when using a bounty system. In addition, bounty systems are costly and inefficient. The NRC shall continue to prohibit bounties or the development of a bounty system. Yet you seem to have no problem with an ongoing coyote bounty hunt that slaughters hundreds of coyotes every year for cash. 10 U.S. states have banned wildlife killing contests so far. 6 of those 10 states ban them through the Wildlife Commission, specifically to protect the reputation of their state's hunters. Michigan's wildlife is a public trust asset, and you, as trustees, are obligated to manage it for the benefit of all Michiganders. So we ask that you reject Wildlife Conservation Order 10, uphold the closed coyote season, and ban these horrific wildlife killing contests in Michigan. Thank you.
Questions? Comments? Thank you, Jim. Justin, you're up.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Director, Counselor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'm going to touch briefly on a few different topics and then get out of your hair. So I will start with Wildlife Conservation Order number 10. It's a hell of a silver medal. I think our preference still would have been to just have a year-round coyote hunting season, but I do want to commend the Commission on their work and the language that they put in this memo, specifically managing coyotes for interspecies conflict and overabundance on public and private land. That is a point that I've been trying to make over the last, now over 2 years. And I know it's not reflected in Waco, but having that line in the memo, I feel is important for Michigan's hunting and trapping community. So thank you for that. Bass fishing, we do oppose the closure of the catch and release season. Commissioner Walters and I have talked at length about this over the past few months. We have member-driven policy from 2016 for year-round catch and immediate release bass season. And if I've said this once, I've said it a million times, and our membership is very open to restrictions of opportunity when the department or some other respected organization can sit up there and explain why we need to restrict opportunity. My favorite example is the Bear Forum. Cody Norton does a phenomenal job at the Bear Forum, where he'll go up there, he'll put up all the charts and figures and data that you want to see and say, because of these reasons, we need to lower the quotas in this unit or raise the quotas in this unit. And we often support those restrictions because we've had that data presented to us. You know, today you had the department come up here and show that based on every data point that they have available, this closure is not needed at this time. I have encouraged Commissioner Walters to perhaps pursue a sunset and kind of phrase it as a study so we can see if this was to happen, if it had the desired effect that that him or people advocating for the closure are hoping for. And then at the end of it, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, and we can go from there. But currently, the people with the letters after their name are telling us that we don't need this at this time. Lastly, I want to speak briefly on underwater spearfishing. Dirk has said that if you guys pass it, he's not going to come back, so what more do you need? But in all seriousness, this represents an important expansion of opportunity for the underwater spear anglers, where there's going to be little to no impact on the resource. There are some pretty reasonable, responsible spatial and seasonal closures built in, and you know, MECC's membership supports expansion of underwater spearfishing at this time. So with that, I'll answer any questions. Otherwise, thank you for the time.
Any questions? Thank you. All right, we're moving on to 3-minute comments. So Rex Lansing, you're next up.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the ones of you that don't know me, my name is Rex Lansing. Active board member with Michigan Bear Hunters Association and also the Hunting Dog Federation. But I'm here representing neither one, only myself as a bear hunter. We're developing major conflicts with all these seasons. We keep piling them on top of each other. We keep adding another one, we keep adding another one. The biggest one we're having right now is this doe season, the early doe season. I've hunted the red oak unit for 40 plus years. I have developed relationships with landowners, 10 acres, 20 acres, 600 acres. They all tell me the same exact thing. Yeah, I know I really don't care that you're in here, but man, do not be in here when it's deer season. Do not. They call me up in this training season. Hey, come run this bear out of my yard. Come run him off my bird feeder. My best friends, until deer season gets here. Perfect example, this year, Saturday morning, turn loose, trail bear 2 miles, I get around the section, here's the landowner at the road, talking to Mike. What are you guys doing? I pull up there, guy recognizes who I am, the landowner does. What are you doing? You know you're not supposed to be in here. Gee, Don, you know, I know that, you know, it's always been good. Yup, it's always good, but I have told you, not when it's deer season. And I'm strongly, strongly asking for your consideration to remove that doe season during our 9 days of bear season. We don't need to be shooting does up there. We don't have the deer population in the northern lower that we have in the southern. Let's even make it the rifle zone. We want to harvest deer. Leave it open. Let's move the line down to the rifle zone, the shotgun zone, to the south. Just give us one weekend where we can harvest bears when we have a college student that can only hunt the weekend, school kids that can only hunt the weekend, people, grown adults that have to work, and they get a tag once every 13, 14 years, and they have 2 days to hunt. And this is what they have to have interactions with. This does not, that's all I'm asking. Just strongly consider taking them 2 days away. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex. Dave Pagel?
Pagel.
Pagel?
Director. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Dave Pagel. I'm with the Michigan Tradition of Ball Hunters. We're the group that crazy guys with long bows, recurve, self bows, all that kind of stuff. You know, our hunt begins when most of the other ones are over. Unbeknownst to me, Bob was on this group and came up with some suggestions related to the deer regs and such. When I came into this role on the board for MTB, I surveyed our membership. And much to my surprise, our membership supports one buck. We're about a 300 household organization, but our membership supports it. Many of them are looking to see some age structure in bucks, and we think that's a good step in the right direction. The other thing that Bob brought up that I wasn't aware he was going to is the universal kill tags. Having hunted northern Lower Michigan public land most of my life, and then being a landowner of that direction, that population up there really struggles. I don't know how 10 doe permits can truly be considered resource management in that area. I had a pretty good piece of property up there, and I know a good hunter next door to me who didn't see a deer in 1906. And the population is just such that I don't think northern Lower can handle that. I currently have property about a half hour from here. Down here you can handle the doe tags. There's not an issue with that. But northern Lower, I really don't feel can handle it. The other scenario Bob brought up was the crossbow issue. Obviously, as traditional bow hunters, we're about as far away from a crossbow as you can get. But many of the states around us, if you look at what a lot of hunters would consider the go-to states, Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, all of them have some sort of limitation on crossbows. Whether it's after a certain age, whether it's only during firearm season, whether it's handicapped, whatever it might be, they have some sort of restriction. The only anomalies to that are Ohio, Indiana, and Kansas. And they're all one-buck states. So that's one of the reasons they have the age structure that they do. So I guess in short, I'd say that the scenario that Bob brought up, Michigan Traditional Bow Hunters and myself personally would support that. So thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's break down these. Jim Morrison.
Commissioners, I've been on your side of the table on different organizations and your patience is amazing. So thanks for putting up with all of us. I think there's some really good comments that have come from a variety of subjects. Full disclosure, I'm a user of the tournament system that was talked about before. I am in a bass club. It's more of a social event than a tournament. But I've changed my comments based on everything that I've heard here today. My background is manufacturing. I've got experience in Six Sigma and solving problems. Well, the first thing you do is you define a problem. Make sure it's a problem. You measure it, right? You analyze it. You implement changes. And then you control the situation by continuing to analyze to make sure that what you said you were going to do really delivers. So, to start out with, define a problem. Well, the property owners have defined a problem that they themselves said, well, we're not really sure if that's really the problem, but you need to implement this solution anyway, without a lot of support. We've heard different solutions that might be possible. Is it bass fishing? Is it wake boats? Is it seawalls? Is it high-speed pontoons? Could be something else. The problem here is we don't know. So I'm sorry for the property owners. Their feeling is this will work, and the narrative of the statistics don't seem to support their narrative of, well, obviously, this is the solution. If you do this, it won't hurt. Well, I've been in situations where implementing a solution either did nothing or it made things worse. Okay? And then very quickly, I'll go back to some of your procedures. Utilize principles of sound scientific management, which is found to be in the public interest. Achieve a full and complete understanding of the issues related to the proposed fisheries and wildlife. Doesn't seem like we're quite there yet. Be informed of all material information and data relating to any disorders. Doesn't sound like we're there yet. But yet, implement it because it can do no harm. Well, we're not sure of that yet either. Okay? And several of the other things that I've seen have had information about social impact, economic impact. Well, with the proposal that's on the table, it came with none of that. It said, well, this is obviously what we need to do with no supporting evidence, other than it feels good for the property owners. So I'm running out of time. And I guess I'd say thank you for listening, but come at this from, are we really defining the right problem? Do we really have a solution that will make the best impact or not? Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Shapiro.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
How's it going? My name's Andrew. This is my first time at one of these meetings, so I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having everyone. It's a pretty open forum. It's very cool to see. I came here to talk about the potential for decreasing the creel limit of lake trout at Standard Rock and Big Reef. Here on behalf of a colleague and friend, Travis White. He's a charter captain up there. I think he's been to a couple of these meetings before. I had the opportunity of fishing with him when I was working for the USGS this past summer. We were starting a plum tree project out there. And it's been a dream of mine to fish out there for as long as I can remember. I'm not from Michigan originally. I moved here 6 years ago. I did a grad program up in Northern where I studied burbot in Lake Superior. Now I'm at Michigan State after working for the USGS for a few years. I'm still studying burbot, so side note, thank you all for putting 5 fish limit on them. They needed it. Anyways, back to Standard Rock and Big Reef. I think the science shows that Sean Sitar has been doing some great work up there. I think the data he's presented has shown that the size out there is decreasing. And people do view that as a trophy fishery. That's how I've always viewed it. I knew about that fishery before I even knew what he was. So I think managing it as a unique fishery similar to Black Lake sturgeon or Iowa coastal brook trout, things of that sort. There is no lake trout fishery in the Great Lakes that is similar to Standard Rock in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, it was phenomenal. The size class of fish, the number of fish, it would be a shame to see that decline. So decreasing the limit to 2 fish or even 1 fish, I don't think that would have any downsides to the local community guides out there. Travis has shown his model for catch and release fishing is extremely popular. People go out there to catch and release fish, these massive lake trout. And he's also shown that mortality rates with them, once you if you use a deep dropping device, it goes way down. So being able to put those big fish back is very important. So, but yeah, anyways, I want to thank you all for considering dropping the lake trout out there to 1 or 2. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Lucy. You think I've been talking to you. Lucy Breedon.
My name is Lucy Breda. I work as an assistant to land stewardship and deer management coordinator for a Parks and Recreation department right down the road. I'm not representing them today, however. We have, just myself, we have over 1,700 acres of public land we manage in 40 plus different parks and preserves. My supervisor started a local conservation corps, a volunteer land stewardship group of 200 plus people, and she has been holding weekly events removing invasive species and restoring native plant populations since 2020. Today I'm here to talk about specifically the invasive species amendment to the NDR regulations. Despite our community's hard work, we have not been able to successfully eradicate the invasive plant species recommended for regulation today. We continue to adopt our management based on new instructions, but we can't catch up with new non-native and cultivar introductions and market incentives. We actively manage 4 of these species in our preserves, but all 6 are sold and advertised in nearby nurseries and box stores as safe cultivars. Michigan's invasive species regulations are less strict than adjacent states in the Midwest, causing us to create more introduction pathways for surrounding states as residents travel throughout the areas, and invasive species prevention practices are not widely incentivized for the average person. Think about it. If you traveled today from outside the county, Ingham County, did you take the time to check your real grooves for soil-carrying invasive plant seeds? When you buy a plant from a store, do you check that the species or cultivar was accurately identified and labeled? The public are confused and stressed with watching their local natural areas ecologically decline. And plants don't understand county boundaries, unfortunately. So the need to regulate the sale and transportation of them at a state level is very high. EGLE, the DNR, and MDAR's joint recommended amendment would provide tremendous support to our volunteer team's residential, community, and local business advocacy for the invasive species population preventions and management on a scheduled 2-year rollout timeline to meet local horticulture and landscaping businesses halfway. We're feeling very stressed about this potential regulation being passed through NDR. Our local plant and human communities would be incredibly excited to see this amendment made to our current invasive species regulations. We actually got 5 emails about it since Saturday alone, and we're just a local Parks and Rec department. Also, please check your wheel grooves before you travel back home, just so our residents can sleep better at night. But I just wanted to stress my support and other local conservation corps support for increased invasive species regulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucy. All right, Trish Marie.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I talk to my friends about wildlife and environmental issues all the time. You can ask them if I'm not encouraging them to adopt pets from their local shelter. I'm talking about environment and wildlife. Some of my friends are hunters, mostly deer hunters, but when I talk about the coyote issue, they say, why would anyone kill a coyote? You can't eat them, the pelt's not worth anything anymore. Even the fur harvesters auction says that coyote pelts aren't moving. Changing this rule for a quiet period for coyotes, just while they have puppies, it violates your own rule of letting a regulation stand 2 years before you change it again, which gives consistency to regulations. You say coyotes are overabundant. Where's the science? I was at a meeting where the DNR representatives themselves told you repeatedly that they don't know how many coyotes there are. They've never counted them. You can't say a species is overabundant if you have no idea how many there actually even are. And interspecies conflict, what is that? If a coyote pounces on a mouse, is that interspecies conflict? If you eat a hamburger, is that interspecies conflict? The cow might say it is. If you want interspecies conflict, my property, I have 10 acres, is overrun with turkeys. And I know some people like turkeys. I don't like turkeys very much at all. They perch on my car, I have photos. They perch on my deck and poop all over it, I have photos. The DNR says turkeys and deer are thriving in Michigan. And let me tell you, I have deer all over the place too, deer and turkeys. Myself, I would love to see more coyotes and fewer turkeys. If I see a coyote in the wild, you know, I feel like I've actually encountered the wild. Whereas if I want to encounter a turkey, all I have to do is look at my deck. You know, I yell at them, I throw things at them. They don't really care. About the only upside of turkeys is they do eat buckthorn. And I know that because they're pooping them out onto my deck. And I see them. So I ask you to please keep the quiet period for coyotes just while they have dependent on. It's the right ethical, scientific, moral decision. That's my whole comment.
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
B. Freelander.
This doesn't count for me.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Director Bowen and AAG Allen. I'm B. Freelander and I represent Attorneys for Animals. I'm here today on behalf of AFA to urge you to halt the process of expanding coyote hunting and to resume the quiet season. If you look at the reason that there was such backlash by some after the 2024 decision to have a quiet season, it was about one thing. The claim was there was no science to back it up. And they went to court, there were bills introduced in the legislature last term and again this term. And some members of this committee or commission have spent the better part of a year and a half trying to come to the point where we are now. So I think it's fair to ask, what is the science behind your intentions as expressed in last month's resolution? Where's the science? There isn't. Instead, it's your intent and some of the commissioners' spin. So I would suggest that what this does is it turns science on its head. You decided on what the outcome would be, namely, we gotta get rid of this quiet time, regardless of what the science was back in 2024, and we've decided we've got to restore coyote hunting, and then we're going to work backwards toward that goal. Some of the techniques you've used are to introduce confusing and, with due respect to the AG's office, who knows where it's going to go. Interspecies conflict, overabundant species. The August resolution even talked about damaging animals. So there's been some talk by the commissioners about saying that this is within your authority and that you've checked with the AG's office.
What I would suggest is that you go back to the drawing board and see if this comports with proposal G. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Any questions?
All right, that completes our public appearances and comments. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll be back to handle the business. Well, we make it at 2:45. It is 2:50, and we're going to move into the business part of the meeting. So there are no new director items this month, but there are a number of land transactions. Director, have you taken a look at what the payments will be on the gift of land for wildlife division?
Yeah.
All right. Is it your intent to sign all these land
It is.
transactions?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. There's one order that's for information this month. It's not for action. And it is amendment number 10. It deals with coyote hunting and trapping seasons. And this is an order that we are going to carry over for information into December. It will be up for action in January. And I believe, Commissioner Nyberg, you have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Keeping with the spirit of these policy resolutions that we've been passing as a commission, are really statements of intent. So the purpose of the original resolution that was offered in August and then further clarified last month on October 9th in Houghton is seeking to define the commission's intent and also just plan for transparency with the public with what we're planning to do next year with this wildlife conservation order. With that said, we've been working to perfect this even further, and after a lot more discussion with the department, biological staff in the department, and stakeholders, I'm going to move to further clarify the coyote resolution that we will seek to prohibit coyote trapping on public lands or commercial forest lands open to hunting by the general public during the management season from March 2nd to October 14th. Furthermore, coyotes shall not be taken in state park and recreation areas from April 1st to September 14th. And further, and finally, allow either the use of proper disposal of coyote carcasses during the management season.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ridley? Other discussion items? Any discussion of this?
Just briefly, so that I'm clear. Let me get to this. And did you read, Dave, allow either the use of or the proper disposal of coyotes?
Yes, I believe so.
No further questions.
All right. There is no other discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, the same. All right, resolution passes. Thank you, Commissioner Nyberg. We're going to move into old business. There are no old directors items on the agenda. Our first NRC action is our spring turkey regulations. It's Wildlife Conservation Order Amendment number 9 of 2025. Is there a motion? Bring amendment number 9 of 2025. This is for, if you'll remember, this is for consolidation and simplification for a lot of the turkey permits.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, it passes. We're going to move to Fisheries Order 206.26. This is our special fishing regulations for warm water species on select waters. This deals with both slot limits on several lakes as also bass regulations on lakes.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
We'll do amendments after.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I have two amendments I'd like to bring forward. The first I move to amend Fisheries Order 206.26 to change both the possession and catch and immediate release seasons on the following lakes and their connecting waters for large and smallmouth bass. Mullet Lake, Sheboygan County, Black Lake, Sheboygan and Presque counties, Burt Lake, Sheboygan County, Pickerel Lake, Emmett County, Crooked Lake, Emmett County. The regulation change will sunset after the 5th year on March 31, 2031.
Is there a second to that amendment?
Okay, second.
We have a motion to amend and a second. Is there discussion?
Yes. So obviously this is a very debatable topic. I think we have all witnessed and seen video evidence showing that when a guarding male bass is guarding that nest during spawning season, when removed from that nest, the gobies come in and take out the eggs and the fry. I don't think that's arguable. There is concern on what is occurring with recruitment and young of the year. And that's really where this stems from. It has been stated by many anglers in the community that we don't have the data, we don't have the science. I received from a friend of mine last week a 65-page study on black bass fishing season in Michigan, background, research review, and recommendation by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. I'm still in the process of really dissecting that, but it does show that we have science. Why this did not come from the Fisheries Division, I don't know, but it is greatly concerning as they are supposed to be our partner. When we asked Chief Claremont about it, he didn't find it necessary. I find it extremely necessary that when there is accusations of the lack of science and it pops up in my inbox, not from the Fish Division, that is troubling. Recognizing that the Fish Division is claiming that there is not a problem and that the Fish Division also does not have the science to support their claim, now we have finger pointing. I made this amendment to sunset this amendment for the main reason of data collection. In a meeting that Becky Humphreys, myself, and Chief Claremont were in late last week, he had agreed to do a study. I would like to see a study done by Fish Division that would include a northern Michigan lake that A, does not have gobies and that does not have a regulation of banning catch and immediate release. I would like a study conducted on a northern Michigan lake that does have gobies, that does not have the regulation of catch and immediate release, and a lake that does have gobies, that does have the ban of catch and immediate release. Have that study conducted for 5 years. Let's evaluate what we learn, an actual study and science-based data collection, and then evaluate whether or not we are right or whether we are wrong.
Are you finished, Commissioner?
I am, thank you.
Is there any other discussion, Commissioner Nyberg?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. I'm just going to be perfectly honest. I've really struggled with this one. With a lot of appreciation, Commissioner Walters, and thinking kind of some of the similar lines of concern about the impact to the bass fishery and wanting more information. That's been a common theme that we've had as a commission when we're evaluating wildlife and fisheries matters, not having the data that we would like to have to make better informed decisions. However, given the the input provided to us by our biologists in the fisheries division, and I think the countervailing impact to a very valued recreational fishing opportunity that we would be impacting if we pass this amendment, I'm going to be voting no, but I wanted to give a comment here because I appreciate what John's trying to do. I understand the rationale. I couldn't quite get there to support it. So I wanted to explain my vote. Thank you.
Commissioner Fewens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Similar to Commissioner Nyberg, I have struggled on this issue and evolved over the last 4 or 5 months since I've been on the commission. I do worry that there could be some potential issues in those lakes, and I strongly urge the DNR to continue to do extra research to get as much data as possible. And I want to thank Commissioner Walters, because whether you agree with this amendment or not, his sole focus is the protection of the resource, and that's what all of our jobs up here is, and that's what John is doing, so I thank him for that. I thank him for the honest discussions. At this time, in my opinion, I feel that this amendment is too soon, and we're putting the cart before the proverbial horse, so I'm voting no.
I would also like to echo my fellow commissioners' opinions on this. I think it's possible to do these studies on these lakes without closing the bass season. Finding the young of the year and surveys and netting and so forth, I think can take place without closing. So I also will be voting no on this amendment.
Commissioner Anthony, did you have comments or you?
He's whispering in my ear.
Well, while you're doing that,
and I greatly appreciate the sentiments of each commissioner and their thoughts on this matter. I think instead of, causing more division potentially within the commission itself, knowing that where the votes are coming from, I will withdraw this amendment. If I can get a second to withdraw that.
we have a second. The amendment to this amendment is withdrawn, the first amendment. Commissioner Walters, I think
Who
you
was
have
the
it.
second?
Anthony.
Okay.
Anthony. Commissioner Walters, I believe you had a second amendment
I do.
referenced when we started, or?
Madam Chair, as a point of order, I believe that my proposed amendment number 2 is before Commissioner Walters' proposed amendment.
And I will honor that.
Pardon me?
I will honor.
Okay, my apologies.
No,
We took the first one out of order, so sorry. My apologies.
No worries. Thank you, Commissioner Walters and Chairwoman. I don't have my readers with me today, so bear with me as I attempt to, thank you. I move to amend Fisheries Order 206.26 to remove the addition of the walleye protected slot limit and sunset the following lakes: Lake Gogeek Lake, Pomeroy Lake, Lake Gratiot, Stanley Lake, Winslow Lake, Lake Mary, Big Man Steep Lake, Milo Koia Lake, Lake Independence and Teal Lake will remain in the order, but the sunset will change from 12 years to 10 years, ending on April 1st, 2036. So we are, just to summarize, taking out 8 of the 10 lakes, but leaving Lake Independence and Lake Teal is the purpose of this amendment, and reducing the time frame from 12 years to 10 years.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Commissioner Walters.
So the 2 remaining lakes, well, let's back up just a bit. Of the 10 that were proposed, 10 lakes that were proposed, 4 of them were stocked with walleyes. The 2 remaining are 2 of the 4 that are stocked with walleyes. In my view, monies from fishing licenses that raise walleyes in a hatchery form and then put in the lake should not have any additional restrictions on them, simply from the standpoint they are hatchery fish to be harvested by anglers who are purchasing fishing licenses. So I'm going to vote no on this for that reason.
Yes, and respectfully to my colleague, I will also be voting against the amendment simply because there's in conversations I've had over the months, there's been lots of negotiating going on between the state and user groups, and whereas I don't think there's going to be a lot of heartburn from a lot of the people who have negotiated, I did make that commitment to the user groups back home.
Are there other comments or discussion?
Just, if I could ask, yeah, Commissioner Fewens, if you just embellish on kind of the, we didn't have a chance to chat, so I want to get a sense of the purpose for your amendment.
Yeah, absolutely. Over the course of the last couple months, it's become apparent that a couple of lakes that there was some opposition to the slot limit. From my own perspective, I believe that it becomes more complicated. Our regulations, in my opinion, are too complicated to begin with. I worry about novice anglers becoming confused with the regulations. Also worry about the effectiveness of slot limits. However, we did receive a lot of public comment in support of both lake and teal, and that's the only reason that I included them to remain a slot, the protected slot limit, just because of the support shown from the local community up there. Otherwise, I would have had an amendment to remove both of those lakes.
Any other comments? I will just add, I know Fisheries Division with reducing walleye stocking and the reduction in terms of budgetary implications are looking at ways to continue to manage, to see if there are ways to manage this walleye population for the future. And these proposals were to help study and learn something from. So I appreciate your amendment. Do we have any other discussion? If not, let's call the vote on this amendment to the amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
We have two opposing and four for. It passes.
Madam Chair, I have an additional amendment.
All right.
I move to amend Fisheries Order 20626 to remove the additional walleye protected slot limit and sunset the following waters. Essentially, it's the other two, Teal Lake and Independence Lake.
Do we have a second?
Two for two. Thank you.
All right. Motion dies. All right, now we're going to.
Madam Chair, I have
another motion.
I do.
To amend.
I do, and I have to preface this by saying this is a late amendment that was caught due to a typo, I think, identified by Dr. Nathan and staff. So staff approached me during our break to see if I could offer this amendment, which I'm happy to do. So with that said as a preface, I move to amend Fisheries Order 20626 to keep Wabassis Lake on the list of waters with a northern pike protected slot limit. This was an error in the order portion of the regulation change. The removal of Bass Lake in Kent County, which is reflected in the memorandum, is correct.
And it's Wabassis Lake. I've mispronounced enough names today. I've got to correct at least one.
So, Madam Chair, for the record, the reason why I was absent from my seat here earlier was because I was trying to get the correct pronunciation. And it looks like I lost that.
Wabassis. Yeah.
Wabassis Lake.
All right. Do we have a second to that motion to amend?
Second.
All right. We have a second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Okay. The amendment passes. Okay. Do we have any other amendments to this 206? All right, now we're going to vote on the amendment as amended twice.
What are we voting on?
Fisheries Order 206 as twice amended.
Ah, thank you.
All right.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Well, it's already
already
open
been
second,
voted.
but we're going to vote on it now, okay, folks? So all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion to amend the order as amended twice passes. And I'm going to go back to FFA and parliamentary procedure. Okay, we are moving on to Order 21926. This is the order to, for crossbow and spear fishing, underwater spearing. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All right.
Becky, a motion to take off the table, so it was tabled last meeting.
Oh, that's right. I do need to take it off. May I have a motion
So
to take
moved.
this? Okay, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, we are going to, now I need a motion to approve this fisheries order.
So moved.
Second on that one? Got it? All right. Is there discussion?
Madam Chair, I've got an amendment to this fisheries order.
I could have bet that.
This is rather lengthy, so bear with me. I move to amend Fisheries Order 219.26 to open the following waters to underwater spearfishing. Lake Erie. Waters north of the Michigan-Ohio border, northward to the mouth of the Detroit River. I don't need to write or read the in parentheses, do I?
Just read it all.
All right. Line extending due east and west of the most southerly point of Celeron Island. Lake Michigan, waters north of Lake Michigan, waters north of Michigan-Indiana border, northward to the 45th parallel, excluding all waters in Grand Traverse Bays. Waters from Michigan to Wisconsin border, northward to the southern edge of the mouth of the Ford River, extending out 2 miles from shore. Lake Michigan from Point Detour, southern point in the Garden Peninsula, eastward to the west edge of the mouth of the Brevoort River, extending out 5 miles from shore. Lake Superior, all waters from the Michigan-Wisconsin border, easterly towards the St. Mary's River. Birch Point range from light to the most westerly point on Round Island. Thence follow the shore of Round Island to the most northerly point thereof. Thence from the most northerly point of Round Island to Point Pines, Light, Ontario. Exceptions. It is unlawful to fish with any underwater spear fishing for northern pike, lake trout, and walleye in the following waters. Standard Rock, let's see, east of line of longitude at negative 87.28 degrees, south of a line of latitude at 47.27 degrees, west of a line of longitude at negative 87.11 degrees, and north of a line of latitude at 47.13 degrees. Big Reef, east of a line of longitude at negative 86.55 degrees, and south of a line of a latitude at 46.93 degrees, and west of a line of longitude at negative 86.37 degrees, and north of a line of latitude at 46.70 degrees. Within a 4.5 mile radius of Isle Royal. In addition, the use of bait, attractants, or decoys shall be prohibited while underwater spearfishing.
You have to do yourself with that one. All right, can I have a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Commissioner Nyberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those that were following very closely in Commissioner Walters' amendment, you might have noticed that there was one difference from the proposed amendment that appeared online prior to the commission meeting. So I wanted to explain that. I was going to offer it as a friendly amendment, but we spoke before this order was brought up, moved and seconded. So I want to thank Commissioner Walters. The reason for changing the Lake Michigan waters from the Michigan-Wisconsin border northward to the southern boundary of the Ford River only out 2 miles rather than the originally proposed 5 miles is to completely protect the Bays to Knock from underwater spearfishing. So that's a precious fishery for walleye and other fish that we know that we want to prevent user conflict, so we wanted to make sure that that was fully clarified. So thank you, Commissioner Walters.
My pleasure.
Is there other discussion or comments of the commissioners? Let's vote on this amendment to amendment number 219.26. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, the same. The amendment passes. Now we'll vote on the order as amended. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. All right.
Madam Chair, just one point of clarification, if you will. We spent a great deal of time reviewing the waters in which we have just approved for underwater spearfishing. I think there are protected areas within it that need continued protection, and I would highly encourage the underwater spearfishing group not to pursue any additional waters.
All right. We voted and approved Fisheries Order 219.26 as amended. Moving on to Fisheries Order 253.26, I'd like a motion to pull this, remove it from the table.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right. Now that we have the order, may I have an order, a motion to bring up and to approve Fisheries Order 253.26?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Anthony Walters, all right. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Nyberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a proposed amendment to Fisheries Order 253.26. And that amendment pertains to daily possession limits. Amending the section for daily possession limit specifically for lake trout and splake combined in any combination in MI4, MI5, MI6, MI7, and MI8, except to limit the daily possession limit to 1 lake trout or splake in the waters of Lake Superior as to Big Reef and Standard Rock instead of the originally proposed 2.
Second.
We have a motion to amend and a second. Is there any discussion?
I'd like just to make a quick comment. 2 months ago, I was against the amendment, but as we heard from stakeholder feedback, I realized that reducing the take to 1 in this area was the appropriate step to take. So I just want to say thank you to our stakeholders for reaching out and educating me on that fishery and letting me know that that was a wise decision. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Any other comments or discussion?
Madam Chair, just a quick explanation and preface to my amendment. I wanted to make a quick explanation as to the rationale behind it.
Please.
And appreciate Commissioner Funes' comments. Similar to Commissioner Funes' comments, I think I had a question about this when the order was presented for information, and it was interesting to me that the department was proposing a limited daily possession limit to 2 rather than more conservative, just understanding the precious nature of these fisheries at Big Reef and Standard Rock, and also hearing from stakeholders that are involved in the decision-making process, or at least the recommendation process, and candidly, their strong concern about what it takes to grow trophy lake trout and the time it takes, and the increased pressure, the increased technology that anglers are using to pursue fish on these fisheries, and really noticing that people that are pursuing lake trout at these fisheries are primarily catch and release, but it doesn't take much to make a significant negative impact on the long-lasting nature of what makes these fisheries special. Lake Superior is pretty big. Lake trout are present and available throughout Lake Superior. We want to preserve the opportunity for anglers to go out and catch table fare, and lake trout is a prize table fare at Lake Superior. But these particular fisheries, what we've heard from biologists, what we've heard from groups that are very close to these fisheries, is that they're concerned, and I think the rationale for this is well taken. And also just wanted to echo those that have reached out to express that concern and educate the commission on it. They've been very professional, they've been very transparent, and also to the staff. I see Dave Carafino here, he's been a part of that conversation as well. So truly a great conversation with the Fisheries Division, and appreciate their insight on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments or discussion?
Madam Chair, I just want to recognize Dave Nyberg for the due diligence that he put forward in the thought and then the obviously amendment. This is clearly a sign of conservation and protecting a species, especially in very sensitive areas, and I fully applaud it and support it.
With that, all in favor of this amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. The amendment passes. Now, we'll vote. Is there any other discussion? Okay, let's vote on the order as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Fisheries Order 253.26 passed as amended. Hallelujah. We're done with orders for today. We're going to move on to committee reports. Commissioner Anthony, do you have any?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Commissioner Walters for the Wildlife Committee.
The department had asked that we cancel the November Wildlife Committee meeting due to time and availability of resources. So we acknowledge that request and nothing to report.
Thank you. And we are all present for the Finance Committee. Thank you for your participation on that today. We'll move on to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Walters.
Aside from deer regulation period, this is probably the most busy month I've had. Recognizing that I had a couple amendments out there that were certainly controversial in nature. I think for the most part, the conversations that I had were very respectful. There are some exceptions, and those folks know who they are, and we'll move on with that. But I fully applaud anybody that wants to have any discussion with me on any matter, whether we agree or agree to disagree, but let's do that respectfully. So I've had a very busy month talking with a lot of people, listening to a lot of opposition and a lot of support, but at the same time, I think it's necessary that we dive very deeply into this uncharted issue, and it goes along well above and beyond bass. It goes into sunfish, bluegills, crappies, what have you, so that we are making sure that we are protecting a resource. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a really busy month, and I haven't made an effort to reach out to some people because of all the back channel discussions that culminated today. So I wasn't avoiding you because of personal issues. The conversations required that I not get into a lot of detail with people. But now, the second issue that I need to bring forward is that most people should know that I have decided not to re-up I have asked that I not be reappointed for the next 4 years, so this next month will be my last. It's been a great run, and you'll hear the final so long next month. Other than that, I noticed that there's a reduction in facial hair in meeting here today, and maybe I have some splaining to do. My wife said I would look younger if I got rid of it.
Commissioner Early.
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Freeland.
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Laporte got called away due to a work emergency. Commissioner Nyberg.
Thanks, Madam Chair. You should try to be brief during commissioner reports, but I do have something fun to report. Was able to take my son Axel out to deer camp and on a couple of his first bird hunting walks in the last couple of weeks, which is very special. And happy to report that he's super excited about being outdoors and hunting in general. He's very curious. He got to shoot his Red Ryder BB gun at camp, and he was my good luck charm in flushing a couple of grouse and harvesting one on the fly. So that was a fun moment for both of us. So I just wanted to share that for the record, and good luck, everybody. This is an exciting time of year. Be safe and enjoy it. Have a lot of fun.
So your director, nothing to report. I've been working on a few federal issues in addition to all the fisheries regulations that we've had. I'd like to thank everybody for their patience. I did a lot of digging, including to past department employees on the history of stuff that occurred in 2005 forward on some of these lakes. And I appreciate all the comments I got from the public too, to help educate and inform in terms of their view. I will not be here next month. Commissioner Anthony will be chairing the meeting in December. I wish I were going to be here. I'll be in DC at that time at a board meeting for the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership. So we will talk again after that next meeting. So thank you, everybody. Have a very safe and hopefully productive hunting season this year. Yep, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Please stand.